We used to hunt Eildon with the hounds, and that's a stag in a bloody boat, and old Stan Green. Back in.
On the, at the Howard Hut.
Oh yeah. Bloody.
That's at the big deer, wild deer and hunting expo.
Yes, mate, they're doing a lot of bloody culling at the moment.
Oh yeah.
But they're only sort of meat hunting.
Yep. So you did a bit more hound hunting early on.
Yeah,
You're not a, well, in Victoria you're not a complete sambar hunter unless you've done both.
That true.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I had it with Bobby Bigham and Phil Bennett and Otterado Ruff, and from in the 70s up until the 90s.
Yep.
About 20 years.
All just out of Melbourne somewhere?
Yeah, out of Croydon. Bobby used to live, and we used to meet out there first thing Saturday morning, early in the morning, then drive to a spot up near Big River or somewhere up around there, and with the hounds, Otto Ruff and Ray Jennings and all the old boys. But those were the days when we used to work hard for a deer.
Yeah.
We used to get about 40 odd a year.
A year. Yep.
Oh, now they do that in the weekend.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. And like back then, getting from Melbourne out to Big River, and that was the track easy road, or did it take a
The
while?
roads were good all the way up there, but the track where we hunted was all rough, pretty four-wheel driving all the time.
Yep.
Up around all the back country, up around Mount Terrible and the Federation, all that country was all a few deer there then.
Yep.
Yeah, we used to get a deer most weekends.
Most weekend a deer,
Yeah.
so yeah, whatever.
As soon as they got a deer, I'd catch the hounds, that's it. We go and have a cook up and call it a day, split up the deer. And
Yep.
it was, good weekends.
And you'd always bring out a whole deer, like.
We always cut the whole lot out.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. But now when they get half a dozen for the day or more, what do you do with them?
Exactly.
There's a lot of meat there. It's, you can only eat so much.
Yep.
No, we never wasted a bit those days. Every bit, a whole deer. We used to cart the deer out whole a lot of the times. Had 4 or 5 blokes and
On a pole.
on a pole, carry them out. If they were close enough, and you could dash a bit of a track in, we'd drive the 4-wheel drive in and pick them up.
Yep.
We had some good hunts. I got a lot of photos of the old hound hunting days.
Deer, yeah. Yeah, they'd be good to check out. I'll definitely check out a heap of your photos. And,
No, but a few of the old blokes, I miss the company. They were old, not just, when they're 80s like me. But Otto, he got coming home from hunting one weekend, and the bloke drove into him head on, and he got killed. That's a few years ago now.
Yep.
You heard of Otto Ruff?
just in publication, I reckon maybe in Errol's book it might have touched on you a little bit.
He was a taxidermist there.
He was one of the original taxidermists and president of the ADA, and at one stage there about when Kenny was
Yeah, we have swap every 2 years. We change over vice president and president. Have a rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need it back then in the 80s. Well, it was a hard decade. Yeah.
In terms of just running the ADA type
Oh
stuff.
no, fighting for the. Well, we
keep hunting, trying to ban hunting and stopping hound. They tried to ban
hand hunting. We beat them because they didn't know what they were talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's one of the few times we got the media on our side to work. We worked with the media.
A big rally in the city.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a couple of thousand guys there, wasn't there?
Yeah, we had one at Rawson and one at Dandenong. And then we also helped the cattlemen. There was a by-election in Nunawading. We did about 100 deer hunters did a letterbox drop right through Nunawading, supporting the cattlemen, the High Plains grazing. And the Liberals won that seat, so it gave the cattlemen another 20 years of grazing in the national park system, see?
Yeah.
But when Labor got in federally, they knew they were in trouble, because they knew Labor were going to make it a whole heritage thing,
Yep.
And then they looked for a scapegoat, so they tried to use a deer as a scapegoat for doing all the damage, see. So we dropped them like a hot cake, and they perished. You know, in the national park. They still graze up in high country outside the park system, but the best of it was in the park system. So
When we
lost
first
that.
hunted the Wollongong, that there were cattle tracks everywhere. You could walk all over the
That was
place.
it. Cattle kept the whole place clean, you know, open like the Aborigines. It was just instead of burning it every year, the cattle did it for you for nothing.
Yeah.
It didn't ruin the place. They just
As soon
had
as they took the cattle out, you couldn't walk through the blackberries.
yeah. Once they took it out, 2 years later, just impossible.
Yep.
So, I don't know what it's like since I haven't been up there now for 20 years.
Haven't you?
Yeah.
No, it's a long while since I've been up there. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah.
There's more deer closer to home now.
Yeah.
And
We only deer I shoot now is cullen deer, just a few vineyards and bits and pieces we do.
yep.
Bloke ring up and complain, so we go up and get a bit of meat and fill up the freezer.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Oh.
Perfect, because that's right, the population's close to those little hobby farms close to Melbourne
they're in
now.
the Dandenongs. You could probably find Samba sign quarter of an hour from the railway station.
Mm.
Yeah.
And like, it's,
In the Fernwood Gully, or the National Park, Dandenong Ranges National Park. It's got salmon in it all over the place now, and fallow deer.
no shooting.
And all the fallow deer are from all the farms that went bust.
Yep.
Yeah. Right through to Bunyip State Park, although that's had a bit of a fire, but in one end of it. But that'll come good. There'll be more sambar there than ever before if they don't. Yeah.
There's still deer around where the pen was.
Yeah, oh yeah, still heaps of deer. I went up to Bunyip there one day and Mike said, go and have a look at next door, they haven't got an electric fence. So I went down and it was midsummer then, so I didn't have to go down until about 8 o'clock. Still light, there was a fallen tree near Mike's boundary and next door, so I just sat there and watched the deer all line up against the fence. You know, as it was getting dark, they'd all be coming in and coming in. They're all lined up on the fence, and all of a sudden, when it was just dark enough, so all the hinds and that were going through the fence. The stags, a lot of them still had heads they'd have to jump over, and the young ones and the hinds just thread themselves through the fence. And 23 of them coming, it's 50 mile from Melbourne.
Yeah.
And then
No, first built the pen, and the first time we went up there was no sign
no
of deer
sign
in the
at
area.
all in the Bunyips, that area. We used to do surveys, for about a kilometre down upstream or downstream, and come back around about 100 yards up the slopes and all that. Nothing. And about 2 or 3 years after the pen, we started finding tracks outside it.
Yep.
So we put up a little Instamatic with a fishing line, tripwire. That was the only cheap available camera back then.
Yeah.
Got a little square globe on the top. You got one shot. That's it.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've got a couple there.
Yeah.
And then it just really exploded with sign. Because it became a state park, no hunting. And we didn't actually do anything about it because there was no deer sign when they made it a thing. We thought it was dead and finished, that area.
Right.
But then blank, as soon as you take out a total ban on hunting, up they come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was at the start of the Bunyip enclosure, so
Hey?
that was at the start of the Bunyip
Yeah,
enclosure.
that was a bit before 86.
86.
Started that one.
Yep.
And by the mid-90s you could walk around the perimeter and there'd be rubs each side because the stags inside and outside would be displaying I'm better than you and all that, and I can do this, I can do better than you. There'd be rubs all around the bloody pen.
Jesus.
That was no attempt to get out or in.
Yep.
So
Because typically a sambar's hard to enclose, you know what I mean, especially a wild one.
Yeah.
Is that because those original ones sort of came from a bit of a zoo background, or where they got held for a while? That they
The
were
females are they're the toughies.
right.
They can adapt to anything.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be something really stressful to put them off. But the stags, they're very delicate. You know, the one that we got from wherever, he was probably born and bred in flat terrain. And we took him up to a bush environment and, you know, he just died of stress.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yet the females, they're tough.
Yeah.
But old Jeannie, she went in from three different places and handled it.
Bred every year.
Yep.
Yep.
And we had one we got from the Werribee Zoo. She was 20 years old and still calving when she died.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was involved with Bobby in they had a pen up near Werribee in the early days, and we used to catch a deer alive in Hilldog Weir then. We used to hunt the weir with the hounds. The deer would run into the water, and we'd have a boat and we'd catch them in the water and put a bag over their head and put them in a crate and take them back to the pen.
Yeah, rightio.
Oh.
There you go. Classic. So they were wild deer, yeah.
And they around Hilldog, it was legal to hunt them with the hounds then.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a lot of good hunts there.
Yeah, we had a licence for 12 deer, or 10 or 12 deer. That's all we allowed. You know, when they exceed that, we used to cull them. So they were practical way. There's no good sending them out to an alien environment. You know,
No.
a couple we did, well, they just died of stress.
True.
Yeah. The females are tough as nails. And
Yeah.
then we got a couple of hand reared ones that were illegally being reared, you know, and the fishers gave them a choice, you know. We know a place they can go, or do you want it, we'll have to destroy it.
Yep.
Not allowed to have them without a permit.
And one's still down there, isn't there? One of those hand-reared ones is still down at Mike's.
No, they're all, she's gone.
She's gone now.
Yeah, she's gone. She just, nearly 18, just over 17, I think she was. But,
She used to come up and be hand-fed.
oh yeah, she's a hand-reared one. Got a photo of when he was bottle feeding it, you know, great big 2 litre bottle of milk or formula. Yeah. She used to put her arm around her head and, oh, she was very handy, being a Judas deer for the others to lure her out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And did you find, would the stags, how long would you have found a stag to live for? If you've seen does?
About 15 or 16. They go downhill rapidly after they're deposed. You know, from their,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, once they get knocked out of the chain,
Yeah.
as far as their dominance and that, they just sort of
Don't
go
worry.
downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they're out, they're just out in the wild, they're living a solitary life.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing now, like they do. Well, the stags are a solo animal until it's, you know, they've had cast their antlers and then grow a new set, and when they start hardening up, well, it's time to get out and start demonstrating on around and, you know, start heading off around the hills and spend the next 6 months mating
Yeah.
as many hinds as he can, and then, you know, as soon as he gets towards summer, he backs off and then casts his antlers. But another thing happens with the national park system, the whole alpine park system, that has been the main contributor to the rising population. You know, a lot of it you're not allowed to hunt and never been able to hunt. So what's happened in there? They've free rein to breed, and then every winter they close the gates, don't they,
Yes.
to keep the track system, you know, alive. You know, the bloody 4-wheel population today, Christ, you know, like on a wet year, they destroy.
Yeah, you could see how 10 vehicles doesn't take long to...
No idea, owners, you get all these 4-wheel drive adventure clubs, you know, they go looking for a challenge.
Yep.
And the rougher it is, the better.
Yeah, the first few years we went up to Wonongatha, you go up 1 year and bash your way into where we used to go into the dry creek, and you go back the next year and you'd see our track's still there, no other tracks.
True.
Yeah.
That remote back then.
No other 4-wheel drives hardly at all in there then, back in the early 70s.
Yeah,
The last few years we went up there, it was just like Burke Street. There was bloody bog holes everywhere and you couldn't drive in.
No, and there seemed to be one track what might used to be here, and then they go just beside it, and there's like 15 tracks wide of full drive.
Right, when we started to go in there to drive, when you crossed the river, the first river crossing to drive into the Wonnangatta itself, there was just a track along the flats through the mud holes.
Yeah.
And then, oh, that was really hard. I've got video of that actually, that track.
Yeah.
And yeah, some pretty hard creek crossings just to drive up to where the old house used to be.
Yep.
And then they put a track up around the side of the hill.
Yep.
So anybody could drive in there then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to drive along the flats to get up to the old homestead site was a bloody real effort. You had to put chains on and drive, had to get wind shut across through some of the creeks.
Yeah, right. In old Land Cruisers, shorties and stuff, or?
And we used to go in Volkswagens.
Yeah, right.
They raised up a bit.
Yeah.
Turn the torsion bars around a bit.
Yeah.
Lift them up.
Yeah.
That's living.